Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 32 episode of the tier list. Yes, we're going to do a tier list video today, guys, ahead of this new deadline on Saturday. So, guys, if you enjoy this one, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here. Let's get ranking. So, as always, we're going to rank the 30 most popular transfers in at time of recording and kind of try and judge whether they are good transfers or bad transfers for your FPL teams. So we're going to start off with the 30th most popular transfer in. We're going to put them into one of these 5 categories. And the first player we're going to talk about is Diaz, who I think is got to be at least a good transfer. He's been in some good form recently, and even though the next fixture against Manchester United isn't necessarily the perfect fixture, it's definitely good enough for Liverpool to get some results there. And after that, we have got a nice double game week coming up, which is definitely something we need to be keeping a very, very close eye on. If you are looking to go into game week 34 without the use of a free hit, it's time to triple up on Liverpool. Get that second and third Liverpool player into your FPL squad. Diaz could be that guy. But I tell you who might not be that guy. Bradley. Connor Bradley, I'm not really feeling this transfer in at the moment because I think he is on borrowed time, and I think by the time we get to game week 34, we are going to see the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold back in the team for Liverpool. In fact, that might even happen within the next game week or two. So this is going to be a really dangerous, not a long-term pick, and actually uses up one of your valuable Liverpool slots that you are going to need going into 34. Maybe the one exception, if you are planning a free hit in game week 34, then maybe you can have Bradley for the short term, but in general, I think I'll be looking to go elsewhere with my Liverpool players at the moment. Branthwaite is definitely at least an optional pick for this game week. He's got a nice fixture this week, which is going to be pretty decent for him. However, after that, you know, the fixtures are kind of mixed. He's not really the kind of player you want to bring in and have in your FPL team every week. That double game week, however, might be worth just having a little look at him at least. 4.2 million is a good value for money. And if you're going for a cheap defender right now, this is probably the direction I'd be looking to go for. But he is going to be an optional pick for us today. Neto, another optional pick. Going to throw him in there. Nice double game week coming up very, very soon. Next week is against Luton Town. Can Bournemouth keep a clean sheet there? Not 100% sure, as Luton do tend to score goals, don't they? So Neto, I think, may concede this game week. We'll have to see about that one, but he's definitely one of the optional goalkeepers to go for in the near future. Chris Wood, I think, is okay. We're going to put him in this kind of section here. I think this next fixture against Spurs is not perfect for him, really. At 4.8 million, though, I think there is another forward that we might want to go for a similar price tag, which we're going to talk about very, very shortly, because we got to put in this quick player in first. Pedro Porro would look to avoid this player, I think. Despite the fixture against Nottingham Forest, Spurs just concede every game, and after that, we've got some difficult fixtures. We've got no double game week. In fact, we've got a blank game week in 34 for Spurs, and that is going to cause some difficulty. I'm just, in general, thinking at 5.9 million, we need to be getting defenders who at least have a chance of getting clean sheets and maybe a chance of attacking returns as well, and that doesn't really seem to be happening for the Spurs defenders at the moment, so I'll be leaving them in the avoid section. Maybe even when they have double game weeks later on in the season, I think even at that point, we probably have to question whether it is worth going in on the Spurs defense or not. After that, Muniz, I think it's definitely a good transfer. I mean, we've got Newcastle coming up, and that is a really, really nice fixture for any attacker. And what's great about Muniz is that Fulham are so much better at home than they are away. So do not get put off too much by recent away results for Fulham. That is just what they do. They lose when they play away from home. They win when they're at home. They are completely different teams in each of those scenarios. But this game against Newcastle, I think, could really, really be huge for Muniz. Huge opportunities there. And, you know, if I'm going for a cheap forward, it's going to be Muniz over Wood. The downside is there's no double game weeks. In game week 34, you'd probably be either looking to free hit Muniz out or just simply sell him. That is the only warning there. Saliba, it's going to go in the optional category. Like, Arsenal's defense are fantastic, but I think right now there are probably a couple of better defensive options to go for from Arsenal. And just like Liverpool, we want to triple up on Arsenal for game week 34, but it's very, very crucial that we pick the right 3 players. And I'm not 100% convinced that Saliba is part of that perfect 3. If you have Saliba already, great, but I don't think I'll be looking to transfer him in. Saka is at least a good transfer, isn't he? He's seeing a slight reduction of his minutes recently, but he is, in general, a nailed-on Arsenal player if you can manage to keep himself fit, which he seems to be doing somehow or another. So definitely a good transfer going into the next couple of weeks. Brighton, Aston Villa, they're okay fixtures, but it's that double game week we're really targeting, where Saka is probably going to be the second best asset in FPL for game week 34. 34. So it might be nice to get him back into your team if you don't have him already. Van Dijk, I like a lot. If I'm going for a Liverpool defender / goalkeeper right now, I think Van Dijk would definitely be that guy. So he's going to go pretty high on the good transfer kind of tier here. Really like this move. Son, I think it's always a great transfer, really. I think particularly if you are a player who is going to free hit in game week 34, I think Son is definitely a player you pretty much must have in your team. If you are not free hitting in 34 and you don't have Son already, I would probably leave that one, to be honest. We could also see Son back on the wing with Richarlison returning to the squad, but this game against Nottingham Forest, Son is one of the standout captains for game week 32, so you might want to consider him if you don't have him and you are planning a free hit in 34. Son is going to be an important player. Kelleher, similar situation to Bradley, really. Maybe okay as a super short-term pick, but honestly, Alisson is expected back mid-April. That takes us around, I don't know, maybe probably around game week 33. There is technically a chance that Alisson could even play in 32, but by the time we get to 34, Kelleher is going to unfortunately just be a waste of a Liverpool slot. Phil Foden, good transfer, no higher than that though. Next fixture is not perfect, I don't think, against Crystal Palace. I think this is actually a kind of a tough game these days to play at Crystal Palace away from home. They do know how to keep things tight and it will take some work to break them down. Will Foden be a key component in doing that? Probably yes. However, I don't think he's a must buy ahead of this game week, and if you can wait one more week ahead of the game against Luton, I think that is a good moment to buy him. Again though, Foden, if you are free hitting in 34, I would look to bring him in this game week or probably next game week, to be fair, but you are going to need to get him in soon if you are a game week 34 free hitter. Tony, not really sure I'm seeing the hype, to be honest. Like, he's an okay pick, but in terms of forwards, there's just so many better options at the moment. Darwin, Isak, Haaland, you know, you can even go slightly differential. You know, Solanke's there as well, of course. So I don't think he really makes the top forwards for me at this moment in time. The fixtures are okay, but there's no double game weeks coming up for the rest of the season for Brentford. I think he's a player you can probably afford to give a miss at 8.1 million. He's just not doing enough to justify a place in your FPL team if you don't have him already. If you do have him already, you might even consider selling him ahead of these upcoming fixtures. Akanji next. He's a slightly risky player for Manchester City because, you know, as soon as Stones and Walker come back into this Man City team, it's going to be rotation time all over again for the Man City defenders. So I would maybe give this one a miss. I think Guardiola and Diaz are probably the safest Man City defenders to go for right now, but no one really seems to be talking about them at the moment. Akanji certainly over the rest of the season is going to be a player that causes problems. I would perhaps look elsewhere for our defenders, but at the same time, I do expect Akanji to at least keep a clean sheet this game week against Crystal Palace. After that, I think he becomes a player that actually might cause you a few problems. Might want to move him back out. Martinez. He's okay. He's an okay goalkeeper to go for. I don't think I would prefer him to some of the other goalkeepers we're going to talk about in today's video. But if you really fancy going in, spending all that money on an Aston Villa goalkeeper, then I guess you could. The fixtures are okay, a little bit mixed. They do have Arsenal in 33, and there's no doubles for the rest of the season for Martinez. So in general, I don't think I would go for him. Maybe that moves him into the avoid category, but this game week, he could do okay, I suppose. Gabriel, pretty much an essential player to own. Arsenal, great defence. You know, they'll keep a clean sheet against anyone. So even though we've got Brighton and Aston Villa back-to-back next, I think there's definitely clean sheets there for Arsenal no matter who they play. They kind of proved that against Manchester City, didn't they? And then a double game week against Wolves and Chelsea could be, you know, you could definitely see Arsenal getting 2 clean sheets in that area. And Gabriel at 5.3 million is just such good value for money. He has that aerial attacking threat from those set pieces. He's pretty much a crucial player to have in your team. Almost a must-buy, but again, the one problem with him is the fact that if you are free hitting in 34, you might want to go elsewhere with your transfers. And I think players like Son and Gabriel, they're kind of on the opposite ends there. If you are free hitting in 34, then you buy Son. If you are not free hitting in 34, you buy Gabriel, and it depends on your strategy, which player you would look to pick up. Bowen is okay. Fixtures very much mixed. I think there's better opportunities for attackers for the remainder of the season. There's other double game weeks coming up as well. He's just an okay pick. If you have him, you're possibly keep him. You maybe even consider removing him, but he's definitely not one of the top transfer targets for me. Erling Haaland, I don't know. Is he actually a great transfer this week? I mean, it feels wrong to put Haaland any less than a great transfer. He's always a super useful player to have in your team. Very much a template pick. And we have got double game week in 37 for him. So if you are planning way ahead, Haaland's got to be a part of your squad. And to be fair, even if you are, you just want to have as many double game week players in game week 34 as possible, you would probably consider Haaland even on a single game week in game week 34 as well. So I think in general, he's just a great transfer for anyone to have in their team. Pickford up next. I like this pick. I like this pick. Double game week coming up in 34. We expect save points. I think this is a great week for an Everton clean sheet as well. Moving forward, I think, he's probably not going to be a player you want to take into the end game necessarily. But if you just want a goalkeeper for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, I think he serves the job, does the job, serves the purpose perfectly. Absolutely fine. Nice and cheap. Get you the save points. Won't always keep a clean sheet, but Everton in general aren't a bad defense by any stretch of the imagination. Next up, Ortega. This is a really tough one. I think he's a nice, super short-term pick. So, for that reason, I think we put him in the optional category. But, we're expecting Edison again back at some point during April. It's going to be, in the next couple of weeks. Edison's going to be back, and Ortega will be once again rotting on your bench for the rest of the season, which is not something you want, taking up a valuable Man City spot for game week 37, where you're going to want a really nice triple up on City in game week 37. And Ortega's just not going to be part of that. So at 3.7 million, it looks too good to be true, and it might well be very nice for the short term. After that, not so much. Raya. He is probably going to be my favourite goalkeeper to go for this game week. And I think you have to put him alongside some of these other, Arsenal defenders. Obviously, Gabriel is the preferred Arsenal defensive asset to go for. But I do prefer Raya to Saliba. The price tag at 5.1 million is very, very good. Obviously, he is nailed on. Obviously, there's going to be save points here and there as well for Raya when Arsenal do concede the odd chance here and there. But not a huge amount of save points expected for Raya, as Arsenal do like to keep things fairly tight. But in terms of goalkeepers, I think he is very much up there. If you're looking for an Areola replacement maybe, and you want to get that double game week 34 goalkeeper, Raya has got to be on the menu. But a goalkeeper who I would just not be going for is Onana ahead of this Liverpool fixture. Definitely understand some people might want to have an Onana ready for the late game, but if you are going to bring in Onana, now is probably not the time to do it because of this really tough game against Liverpool, where we are expecting Liverpool to score a few goals in this game. And Man United, their defensive numbers have actually been really poor recently. So I'm actually, getting put off. I'm going off the Man United defense quite a lot at the moment. So I'm going to put him firmly in a void ahead of probably the toughest fixture a team can play if you are a defender or a goalkeeper. Next up, Darwin Nunez, another player who is very much a strategy player depending on when you are playing your free hit. If you're looking for that game week 34 double game week player, then Darwin is definitely going to be one of the top players to go for from Liverpool alongside Mo Salah. Is he 100% nailed on to play every single game? No. But a great thing about Darwin is the fact that even when he is benched, he does always come off the bench whenever he's available, and he can get points off the bench as well. He does have that ability to be a dangerous player during the final moments of the games for Liverpool. So I really like this player. Definitely my second favourite Liverpool attacking asset. And I think I'd put him kind of around Van Dijk kind of as your kind of second Liverpool player to go for after the very obvious Mo Salah. Dom Solanke up next. He's going to go in here. I'm actually going to put him above Erling Haaland because he plays Luton Town this week. So you've got an immediate great fixture. And we do have that double for Bournemouth in game week 34 as well. So he's going to be a really useful player to have. No goals against Crystal Palace in game week 31. However, Crystal Palace, like I mentioned, they are not the easiest team to play against. They're not the easiest nut to crack. So I do think Solanke can produce results against a different team. Next, Ben White. Now, I do prefer Ben White to Saliba, but I think I would slightly put Raya ahead of him. If I'm looking for that Arsenal defensive double up, it's probably Gabriel and Raya rather than Gabriel and White. But it is close. It is very close. The one concern with Ben White is there is a small chance of rotation when the fixtures ramp up, when the fixture schedule gets a little heavier, because we have got the likes of Tomiyasu back in the Arsenal squad ready to play once again. Also, Ben White, quite expensive at 5.8 million. I think Raya and Gabriel do offer that slightly better value for money. I'm not actually convinced White offers you so much that he is worth going for ahead of Raya, when there is some other defenders who I think could be really, really beneficial to your FPL squad. So he is a good transfer. There is no doubt about that, but I'm not willing to put him any higher than that. Cole Palmer, must buy. Sheffield United is the fixture. A real captaincy option for this week. If you are prepared to captain the 5.9 million man, then go for it, I say. Really, really nice pick for this game week. And, you know, yes, we do have that tough fixture against Arsenal in game week 34, but even if you are not free hitting in 34, I would still have Palmer in your team and just bench him for game week 34 against Arsenal and play some of your other double game week players. I think he's just a player you are going to want to have in your team no matter who you are. And the same situation can be said for Salah, but in the reverse. Salah is obviously a player who does double in 34. If you are free hitting or not, it doesn't matter. You still want to have Salah over the next few game weeks and maybe even beyond that, because he is such an amazing FPL asset. Now, at the time of recording, he hasn't played his game week 31 fixture yet, but I'm expecting big things against Sheffield United. We already saw just how good he was against Brighton, how he could have got so many more points. And like I say, Manchester United, their defensive numbers are down at the moment, so we could see Salah put in a real nice shift here against the Red Devils. Next up, Ait-Nouri, the hype player of the last kind of 24 hours, I suppose. Yeah, the goal against against Burnley was it was nice. It was sweet. It was very sweet. I think he has to go at least in the great transfer category. Would I put him ahead of Gabriel? Perhaps not, but I think this is a phenomenal transfer. I don't think it's too late to get him either. I know Burnley was a nice fixture that a lot of people were eyeing up, but also against Aston Villa, came so close to scoring in that game against Burnley. He could have got another goal easily. He could have got another assist in that game as well. The fact is, he's listed as a defender and he's playing as an attacker. He's playing as a winger, sometimes even in the central striker areas, which is absolutely incredible. These are the kind of moments in FPL where you get that defender who is playing such an attacker, you know, calls back to Lord Lundstrom of Sheffield United from a few years ago, where you have a player listed as a defender, but actually they're playing in a far more attacking position. Ait-Nouri really is him at the moment, and with a double game week in 34, fixture against West Ham this week, it is not too late to get him in. Make sure he is one of your priority defenders to get this week, alongside the likes of Gabriel, maybe Gusto as well is another player who I'll be looking at. He plays against Sheffield United as well. He's not on this tier list, of course, because he has a little warning sign next to his name, which obviously doesn't matter. He is back in training. But Gusto is another defender I strongly consider for this week, which brings us to probably the biggest hype player in FPL at the moment, and that is Isak, who I'm going to put tentatively in great transfer. Let's put him just about here. I think Isak is the priority move if you are free hitting in 34, because we're going to have a nice double game week in 37 for Newcastle. So he's a nice long-term pick. Although, to be fair, Isak with potential, you know, a rotation with Wilson when he's back, with the potential for, you know, an injury. Isak is prone to an injury or two. You do have to worry about him a little bit if you are picking him for the longer term. So he's a great pick, and he is definitely one of those players that when they're fit and available, you want to have them in your team. And right now he is fit and available. He's playing brilliantly. Every game it looks like he can get an absolute haul. And I think, you know, definitely a player we want to have a very close look at. But he's not going to be for everyone. Whereas players like Salah, Palmer, maybe even Son, Gabriel, these are players that really are going to be for everyone, no matter who you are. So there is the tier list in its completed form. I think I'm happy with where everyone is, but let me know if you think I've made any mistakes here, and if there's any other players we didn't mention in today's video, make sure you let me know by leaving a comment, and we will rank them. We will rate them, we will rank them in the comments. Just leave a comment and we'll talk about that player. So yeah, there we go. There is the tier list for Game Week 32. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like before you disappear, we'll shoot for 1,000 likes for today's video. We haven't done a tier list in a little while, actually, so hopefully you did enjoy this one. Make sure you subscribe as well. We're very close to 100 197,000 subscribers, which is amazing. Thank you so much. No more videos for Game Week 32 so far, but more will be coming up over the next 2 days. So I hope to see you there. And until then, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.